Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My girlfriend 21 female, cheated on me 23 male with my father 54 male. Do I cut my dad off or try to forgive him? We have been together for over a year. My girlfriend and father last week set me down to tell me they had a week-long affair a couple months ago. They only had sex 3 times, they said, and after the 3rd time, they say they both felt extremely guilty and mortified at their actions. They've been wanting to tell me since then, but didn't have the hearts. I always knew they got on well, they bonded over many shared interests, but I never saw this coming. I feel completely sick. I haven't eaten hardly anything since they told me. I haven't officially broken up with her yet, but it is obvious as I haven't responded to any of the text/calls she sent when they first told me and after it had sank in. I left and haven't said a word to anyone outside of work since. I've been a total ghost to my whole family and friend group. My dad and I are very close. For my whole life, I have looked up to him. He and my mom divorced when I was a teenager, but they have been very friendly to each other, which made the process so much easier. I want to forgive my dad, but if my girlfriend had cheated on me with another person, I would easily cut them both off. And in a weird way, my dad has hurt me so much more by doing this than she has. I could get over a cheating girlfriend. My relationship with my father, a relationship I cherished, is destroyed, and it's his fault. My question is this: should I forgive my father? How can I forgive him? Should I tell my mom or brother? Would I be cruel for completely cutting him off, which is what my heart is telling me to do? Update: my girlfriend 21 female, cheated on me 23 male, with my father 54 male. Do I cut my dad off or try to forgive him? I have received several PMs asking me to update. A bit has happened since then, but I will try to be brief to avoid a wall of boring text. So I told my mom and brother like everyone suggested. My mom was heartbroken, and we talked for a few hours. She told me she was not surprised. When they were married, she suspected him of having inappropriate contact with students. My dad is a handsome man, and she told me many girls would give him that kind of attention. She did not know if he was unfaithful for certain, though. My brother took it as I expected. He blamed my ex and told me I should date less slutty women. I feel like this is missing the point, but whatever. I can't stand that guy anyway. For the following week after I dumped my ex, she would call and text me a lot. The gist was basically she loved me, and I should forgive her because she made a mistake but hates herself for it. She told me it was just sex and that she wanted to fulfill her fantasy of having sex with an older male teacher before we got married. I didn't respond to any of these messages or return her calls. I hadn't heard from my dad until a few days ago when he came by to reconcile. He let himself in, as he has a key, and we talked. He told me about how the affair started with them flirting a little. Eventually they had sex. He said while they had sex 3 times, only the last time was actual penetrative sex. The first 2, she just blew him apparently, and he fingered her. He told me this like I was going to be relieved they only did it once. In reality, I was horrified that now a detailed picture was in my mind. I asked him if he had been in contact with my ex. He said yes, and that they had dinner a few times as friends because he was worried about her. According to my ex, I was emotionally torturing her, and my dad believes he is responsible for her. I told him I would not have a relationship with him ever if he kept in contact with her. He said I was his son and that he would be in my life regardless. I just held my tongue. He then told me it was shitty to tell my mom and brother like I was trying to ruin his reputation. I was done, so I just nodded and apologized. I know that was cowardly, but I didn't want an argument. That was a few days ago. I haven't told anyone else other than my immediate family. I still don't know whether to totally cut contact with my dad. Part of me does, part of me doesn't. TLDR, told my family, broke up with my GF, dad came over to reconcile. I still don't know what to do. Edit. People are concerned with me apologizing. I do not actually feel remorse. I told him that because it is what he wanted to hear, and I wanted him to leave. At that point, I was just nodding along to avoid an argument and him potentially staying longer. Also, I should have asked for the key, but like someone said here, it is difficult for me to face him, so I admit I wasn't thinking straight. Story 2, marriage demolition. I, 32M, just discovered my wife, 30F, cheating in our marital bed a few hours ago. Right now, I'm holed up in my dad's fishing cabin trying to wrap my head around what I do from here. I feel destroyed and worthless. I feel anger due to that rage. My entire life just got flushed down the toilet, and I have absolutely nobody to talk to. The one person I thought I could talk to just betrayed me and tried to lie about all of it. I just scared the hell out of 3 people, one of which was me. If the cops aren't looking for me right now, I'm lucky. If they are, I'll deal with that when I'm forced to. I work in construction, demolition to be specific. The crew I work with travels often, and I had been gone 10 days out of the 14. I was supposed to be gone. Due to rain, very difficult to blow up wet things, and the forecast, I decided to catch a plane back home until I was certain we could work again. The flight I took didn't get in until midnight. I wanted to surprise my wife, so I didn't let her know I was coming. I drove the 4 to 5 minutes from the airport to our house. 8 years ago, my wife found some beautiful acreage far from any other homes through her job in real estate. 2 years later, I was finished building our house, which we have loved ever since. We have a 4-car garage, so any cars parked in front is unusual. A black SUV I didn't recognize made my heart sink. Instantly knew. I hadn't sensed any troubles with our marriage. We hadn't had any fights, our sex life was great and frequent. But I knew somehow right then and there what I'd find once I went in. If the car had belonged to a relative of hers who was visiting, she would have let me know. Part of me hoped it belonged to a female coworker who had a little too much wine during a visit and needed to sleep it off. But that would have been highly out of the ordinary. I sat outside the house for at least 15 minutes thinking things through. When I parked my car about 6 inches from the driver's side of the SUV, which was parked beside a retaining wall, whomever it belonged to wouldn't be entering their car to leave without my say or breaking out a front or back window. I cut off my car and entered through the back door via the deck. I have a concealed carry weapon permit for a gun. I had put on my holster before getting into my car at the airport and driving home. I wasn't afraid for my life, but I was afraid of losing my temper and taking the life of someone else. Walking into my house, everything was quiet. At first, I didn't think anyone was home, but with a finished meal for 2 on the table and a sink full of dishes, I knew something was up. I calmly walked down the hall to our bedroom and slowly turned the knob. I pushed the door open but didn't hear any commotion or movement at all. The room was pitch black dark. I walked over and turned the light on in the bathroom. When I turned around, there was my wife completely naked laying on top of some naked guy I'd never seen in my life. I was crushed. It felt like someone had just laid a 100-pound boulder on my chest. I felt tears well up in my eyes, but I knew tears were pointless and would do nothing to help the situation. I pulled out my phone and began recording. I walked around the bed videoing the pile of flesh in front of me. It began to sink in that my marriage was over. I realized all of our property would be divided evenly even though I have been 100% faithful. I suddenly realized the house I'd built with my own bare hands would have to be sold when we divided assets in the divorce. Being physically betrayed felt worse than any pain I could have imagined. Knowing I was getting ready to be financially gutted too nearly made me lose my shit because it seemed so unfair. But I knew damn well I was done with her and would never touch her defiled body again. I was disgusted by what I saw, but mostly at my wife. In my mind, she had gone from sweet, devoted wife to alley crack whore in the span of 15 minutes. Neither moved at all. I was fairly certain they were both passed out drunk. Since the house was going to need to be sold, I suddenly didn't care about any damage to the house I'd worked so hard on.